So welcome Sharpal again. We didn't expected this to be the last day of the game because we expect so much from the Australians. They prepared well also. But once again, I think in both the departments, even fielding, they let themselves down today. Last late evening in the Smith dropped and catch at slaves. Today also few catches were dropped. It seems they Australia was not prepared for this. It seems that all this was talk only because when it came down, when if Akshar Patel and Shami are stitching a partnership, we expect better players in Australian top half to at least be show some resistance, stick to the crease. See, any side can have a bad day in the office. It's not that, but they surrendered. It felt like from watching the game. So, what are your thoughts of the game? Did you expect it a 3 day game? Especially I didn't. I thought it will give at least till fourth day, if not fifth.
No, after the first day, I was expecting an innings defeat. To be honest, I was very disappointed with how we started the series. I was speaking before the series about how we needed to start very well to be competitive in India. You don't want to fall behind too early because India have got too much depth and quality to let positions of strength go. Once you fall behind, it's very difficult to come back. And what I wanted to see, I think, like every other Australia fan, was just some fight today.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we didn't get it. And sort of when Scott Boland dropped that very easy catch early in the day, I felt that was the that was the bad sign of what's to
Yes.
come for the team. Yeah, the fielding was not good, and I think a lot of the bowling lacked impact, and also the batting, of course, looked very clueless.
I just want to add, I think they badly missed the fifth bowling option also
Agree.
because in the first innings when they had India five down, then in the last session they missed that par when Pat Cummins needed an extra spinner maybe how I don't know whom he would have omitted and bring Ashton Agar in, but they needed that fifth option because
Agree.
Indians just ensure that they are kept on the field, and then obviously the spinners don't have habit of bowling 40, 50 overs regularly. They needed and support. I think Scott Boland, though he did well, whatever limited bowling opportunities he got, but he could have was not could have kept one end tight, but he was not looking to. He was not a threat to the Indians, you can say, and that's where India capitalized because they knew the spinners will be overbowled, and when this happens after a point of time, you do get some runs from the spinners. So they need this fifth bowling option. Travis
Agree.
admission was a big setback for them, and Rancho again, I think didn't do any good to his chances to keep him in the side. He was
No, it
clueless.
didn't.
He, so that was slightly disappointing from because he has been batting in the middle order now for long. I think last time when he told India he was an opener, but then I know he's batting in the middle order of it. But this time around he didn't look comfortable in the maybe starting against the spin is his problem. That's what I feel.
That's the problem, isn't it? It's Renshaw coming in against the spin in the middle order. That's the big issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, like a fight today. Yeah, very disappointing. I think when you're batting against such good spinners, you have to be very committed in every decision you make. Footwork has got to be spot on. The amount of times the Australians were caught on the crease, not knowing what to do, either go forward, not going fully forward, not going fully back. Yeah, it wasn't good. So yeah, there's going to be a few changes, and I agree fully with your point about the fifth bowler. That's why we need Cameron Green back as soon as
Yes.
possible. He gives us the second pace bowling option. Then you can play the. So I think I've got some echo. I don't know if that's coming through. Yep. So, yeah, you can play this either another pacer or you can play a third spinner.
So I think during the match it was shown. Everyone is opposite echoing now. It seems.
Yeah.
So maybe let me be. During the match, it was shown that Cameron Green and Hazelwood were bowling. They were looking decent. So, do you expect both of them to come straight in, or do you think one of only you will swap Boland for Green and you would like to have an extra spinner in there?
Maybe it depends on the conditions in Delhi, but it's probably going to spin. And there's the option of Mitchell Stark if he's fit as well. So we'll just have to wait and see there what the conditions are. But there's going to be some I think some changes. You need the fifth bowler.
So over to Vaishali now. How do you see this 3-day game? Did you expected it to be a 3-day game?
Hey, hello, Chawal. First of all, I would like to know how are you feeling?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I was talking to you about this yesterday,
Yeah,
expecting it to be honest.
okay. That's right. And I think to answer your question, Ankit, I feel that this was a near perfect game for us. Like all the 3 days, India dominated entirely in all the sessions. We never gave the opposition chance to come back. So I think that's a great sign. Only thing I would be little, curious, or maybe I would like Indian team to do well is the slip catching first, and the second,
Yeah.
the control over the new balls, because you don't want, Smith getting out on a, you bowled him, but then it's a no ball, Smith and Labuschagne. So that's the two things I think where India can, improve on. Otherwise, it was like a near perfect game. So we dominated all the sessions, be it batting, bowling, fielding, everything. The body language was spot on. We never knew that Aussies will be like this. We always knew Aussies to give the good fight back, but this match it was not there. So I would say like I'm just thrilled the way BGT started for us, and hopefully it's just the start, and we get to see a lot many interesting games.
Spot on. I think India was so good, and they showed why they don't lose many games at home. I think they've only lost like two tests at home in the last 10 years, and they showed why. So yeah, like let's see what Australia do coming back because I expect to see some fight. That's what Australia's about. So fingers crossed.
So I was wondering whether Australia would be keen for a right-left opening combination. They would like to swap Peter Handscomb up the order, maybe bring Khwaja down.
No, it could be Hanscom in for David Warner, possibly if they don't want to pick Warner. Um, yeah, I don't know. I've been hearing some opinions as well. Travis Head to opener, but I think they'll persist with Warner, even though I wouldn't, because he's had a lot of chances before in India and in England and all there. But so I don't know. It's difficult.
So Ranjay, your views about the game? What did Australia? Where did you think Australia went wrong? Because I think everything went right for them. They ideally they would have loved to have won the toss. They would have batted. They got that thing in their favor. But then I
Yep.
think everything went downhill for them, right?
100%. Like you get the opportunity to bat. I was telling the guys yesterday or the day before. I was really hoping we'd win the toss. I was so nervous before it because I thought if we don't bat first, we're really no chance. But if we bat first and get a decent score on the board, say 250, 300, put something there, then we're a chance. I had some hope in the first session with Smith and Marnus. I thought they batted really nicely. That was probably one part of the game where Australia batted really well. The key to that partnership was if the ball spun past the outside edge, they didn't worry about it. They just moved on to the next ball. That's the key to batting in India as well. You can't worry about what's happened before. You get so many players that worry about what happened the previous ball. It spun past my outside edge, and they get beaten by the straight one. You know what I mean? Because they're thinking about the last ball. You got to put the last ball or what's ever happened before behind you. And I think Smith and Marnus did that well on the first day, but we didn't see that all again for the rest of the game. It was really disappointing. But I hope to see some sort of fight back in the second test. It'll be really disappointing if the Aussies don't respond. Not expecting to win the series, but give it a fight.
Ranjay, your views on Indian spinners today and in the first innings also, how did they bowl?
Indian spinner bowled really well, I think, and we have a discussion around who is playing Akshar Patel or Kuldeep. So I think we got the answer. One more question from Charwal. Don't you think that in the starting of the day, Pat Cummins, the captain, should have come earlier to bowl because Sami was really good against spin in India, outside India also. So there was sometimes in his mind that it's over for us. Pat Cummins, the captain. What do you think?
Maybe,
Bowl and come
yeah,
and bowl some Yorkers.
yeah, maybe he could have. If it's not, I mean, Cummins wasn't at his best in this test, and you've got to consider his workload as well, only in the four man bowling attack. But look, I didn't mind that they started with the spinners to the left-handers. Um, but yeah, I think the big issues for Australia is starting the Test match well. There's the big priority. Otherwise, you can
Mm,
try your best later, but India, they bat very deep and they've got fantastic bowlers. It's very hard to come back. So yeah, you got to start the Test match better. I think that's the big priority now.
a question and comment section. What do you think changes in the next matches?
I think they're
Anything
gonna they're
on
gonna
that?
find they're gonna find a way to bring Travis Head back in the 11 after what's happened. And that's not to say Travis Head would have changed the result or anything like that, but he's the kind of player who can score quickly, albeit he does have some problems against spin. I will admit that he does. We saw that last year, but he's a player that I think he deserved first chance in this series. He's coming into with some good form. He can bowl. Is very handy to have in the team. So I think they're gonna bring him back. Whether it's gonna be in the middle order or if they surprise us and put him at the top, we'll wait and see.
Mm,
I think if Cameron Green is fit, he definitely comes back into the team. Desperately need him because he provides that fifth bowling option. And then you can pick maybe, say, Boland might go out. I thought Boland did not bowl badly at all, but the conditions don't quite
mm,
suit him. So you either go with if Mitch Stark is fit, bring Stark back, or a left arm spinner. I've called out we need left arm spin option in India. That's very important. So if you can bring Ashton Agar in, it's a plus in my opinion, because
yeah,
he can bat. He can bat a bit as well.
yeah,
So
he can bat decent better.
yeah, he's all right. And you look at the
Har-
lower orders. Like I was saying yesterday, like Australia lost in the first innings. They lost the fifth wicket when it was the score was 162. India lost the fifth wicket at 168. And look at the difference in the scores in the end because the lower order. And I'm not saying Agar is as good as Jadeja or Patel, but if you have some extra batting cover down the order, it can make a difference.
mm, okay, Harsh, your question.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
I would say that it was a completely dominating performance from India, and I think in the very first season, when you get 2 on 2, in that position you can control the game and can set the tone of the match. That is what we have seen in this match. One more thing which I was not expecting from Australia was the team selection. They had only 4 bowlers. They should have their fifth one, and I would like to comment on the batting on Australia that they prepared for Ashwin in the first inning. Jadeja came out of syllabus, and in the second inning they failed to Ashwin. So, what do you think? What went wrong? As Australia prepared very well against Ashwin.
Look, I would say that only three things went wrong for Australia. So there's the positives. But the bad news is that it was the batting, the bowling, and the fielding. So that's everything went wrong. Um, yeah, look, I agree with you. The start again, I go back to the start of the Test match. When you start that badly, you're always behind the eight ball. But and then it's just disappointing that we didn't bat well after Marnus and Smith showed some good signs in the first innings. And I agree with you fully. The four bowlers, only having the four bowlers is always a risk in India. With such a deep batting lineup, such a strong batting lineup, you need the depth. So, yeah, I don't know. We need to make some changes in the next game. No doubt about it.
I think someone is asking you that Cummins didn't try bouncers much, but I think This track was not meant for
It's
Vansar,
it's
so
it's a tough
it's
it's a tough. I know Mark Wall was saying that on commentary as well, but it's a very difficult pitch to bowl bounces on. I think with Cummins, it was just a lot of loose deliveries early in the spells on day
yes.
one and day two. That's where Rohit got away, hit 13 off the first five balls, and Rohit never looked back. I've never seen Cummins bowl that badly. So yeah, he's got a big. This is his biggest test now as captain by a country mile. He's had a good
Mm.
start. But I've always said that if you're going to put Pat Cummins as captain, he's going to be tested in Asia, particularly in India, not only as a bowler but how he leads the team, and how he gets the team to respond against any challenges. I felt he just wasn't at his best captaincy wise. I thought he gave away too many easy singles at times, and he didn't bowl at his best. So we'll see how he responds. He's a class act. We all know that. He's world class. We'll see how he bounces back. I'm interested to see.
With regards to Cummins, I think he didn't have runs to play with, to be honest. His
Possibly,
batters
yeah,
let him
but
pick
but but
runs.
the thing is, yeah, look, 100%. But Pat Cummins conceded 27 off his first four overs and
Yes.
gave Rohit Sharma three leg stump half volleys, and yeah, like I know there wasn't a lot to play with, but you got to make life a little bit more difficult for India, and you got to do your best to stay in the game. Australia's spirit is you never give up. So
Yes.
yeah, but I agree, not enough runs.
So this is again a very interesting question. Is Smith not bowling
I
anymore?
think no. After that injury, he is not bowling that much.
Not really. Nah. No. If he was going to bowl, it would have been in this Test match. You would have thought, with limited bowling options. I thought he didn't. I thought Marnus could have been used a little bit more. Not to say he would have taken wickets, but just to try something different. I just felt there was a lot of same about the Australian attack. There wasn't a lot of variety or any point of difference. Todd Murphy, I want to touch on him. He was the only player in the team that can hold his head up high. He was outstanding on debut to bowl like that, because that's very difficult in India against these players to make your debut. But his control of length was amazing. And I think, fingers crossed, we found our replacement for Nathan Lyon when Lyon eventually retires. So he's a very, very good bowler, Todd Murphy.
Yes, he showed he can
Char-
withstand the pressure. Yeah, please, Ranjay, continue.
uh,
You were saying something.
Charbal, which there are many positives for India like Jadeja, Akshar, and Rohit batting. But which positive you think is the best for India in this match, this particular match?
Yeah, I think. I mean, Jadeja was so good, but to come after 5 months injury and perform like that straight away is very, very big positive. I think it's India's
Mm.
lower order runs as well. That's a big positive because they show why they don't lose at home. But I was really impressed with Rohit. He looked like he was batting on a different surface, and his defensive game was so good. So yeah, if he keeps batting like that in this series, India are definitely going to win 4-0.
Mm. Let's see. Hopefully, Delhi we can see some comeback from Australia. The
And
next
also,
test.
look, I will touch on a big positive. India scored 400 when Pujara, Kohli, they didn't contribute. Surya Kumar Yadav didn't contribute. So yeah, that's a fantastic score on a challenging, tricky pitch. I mean, I like the pitch. I think there was nothing wrong with it. You had all the talk about it. It's a good pitch. It's a testing surface. Got something in it for everyone. If you're willing to bide your time, you got runs. You saw 100, few 50s, a score of 400, and then you've also got a score of under 100 there as well. So, yeah, again, a lot was made of the pitch in Australian media, where I think that's a bit of a loser
Yeah.
mentality. You've got to try and find ways to overcome the conditions rather than complain about it.
I
I
agree.
forget
Surface
it
is
about
for
pitch.
both the
Yeah.
sides. Please,
Mm.
please. I
Uh,
was just saying that
I for
surface is for both the sides. So let us pitch should not be a
mm.
question at all, because if a side is able to
Yes.
score 400, and
100%.
that means you have to
100%.
work hard on your game rather than criticizing the track. I think that should not be a
100%.
question. Absolutely.
Agree.
Yeah, Ranjay, please
Mhm.
continue.
I forget the question about pitch, but Charpal reminded me that. Don't you think that that pitch talks from the media was one of the cues? Because if you see that second innings of sorry first innings of India today, and for us Jadeja, they are bowling in that rough. Nothing was happening from the rough, but they are bowling there more than line and length. Yeah. So what do you think? That pitch talk was one of the reasons that
Maybe,
bowlers
like,
did
I
not
don't
do well,
know.
like Nathan Lyon.
The thing is, maybe the Australians just had it all in their heads. You know, they came in. The key in batting in India is where you got to have a clear mind. You can't just look what's in front of you and be worried about it before a ball is bowled. You have to just focus on each ball. I know it's very cliche, but it's so important. Um, and I think as well, it was a bit of a concern for me how little Nathan Lyon got out of the pitch. I don't know if you guys felt the same. I thought he lacked bite and he lacked impact. I thought he looked the least threatening of all the spinners in the test match. So, this is a guy with, the most wickets of any bowler in the test. I know Ashwin is Ashwin past him yet? I think they're very close, but yeah, they're both around the
The
460. They're both around 460. Nathan Lyon bowled very well on the last tour, but I
mm,
spoke about it before the test. He's lacked a bit of, he's not spinning the ball as much as he used to. I felt the last maybe year or two. His strike rate is much higher, and yeah, I thought he just didn't look as threatening in this game, which was disappointing. So we need Lyon to lead very well going forward.
I think he's
mm,
feeling the pressure that he is the one who has to make the Australia win this series. It is in his
Maybe,
head because unless he fires, as we were discussing, that he is the leader of the pack in Asian conditions. These are not conditions that will, I guarantee you, the tracks will be similar to these tracks in all four places where Australia go because now Indians have seen also how is Australia responding. So be rest assured, tracks will be similar. So if Australia has to win, their spinners have to take them to the victories. Fast bowlers can only play a supporting role now. So Nathan Lyon will be the has to play like a lion means to make sure Australia
of course,
comes ahead
yeah,
because I think he is feeling that pressure of being a lead bowler in the side. I think though he has been a very experienced campaigner, I'm sure he will come back stronger. But I think it in his head that is what I felt from outside that
maybe,
Murphy was bowling well. He was not getting that much bite that he it was playing on his mind. I felt and unfortunately some catches were also put down to make the matters worse for him. So can't
yeah.
say.
It's interesting as well. Lyon, yeah, like yeah, just even his bounce. Lyon's bounce is a big. Yeah, there's a comment coming through now. Like Lyons, yeah, his asset over the years has been the ability to get the ball to bounce a lot off the pitch. But yeah, I just felt watching him, he was toiling hard, but he wasn't really threatening. You look when the Indian spinners bowl, you feel like a wicket's going to fall every ball. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's a lot to work on in the next week before the next test.
So what you make of Alex Carey? He's a very good fighting player. He kept well also. But when he came to bat, he was just only had one option. It's first inning as well as second. So I think he's a better player than this. He's not trusting his defense as well,
Agree,
right?
agree. Yeah, you can have the sweep shot, but you can't play it every ball. You can't
Absolutely.
play it every ball. You got to because these spinners, the Ashwin and Jadeja, they're too smart. And the thing is, Rohit as well is going to set the field. I've said this a couple of times. Rohit's going to set a fielders behind square. So you're going to have fielders behind square and close to the bat. So all of a sudden, you're going to have spaces open in front of the wicket. So that's where Carey can look at playing it straight and knocking the ball into gaps and rotate the strike. I think Australia really failed and struggled to rotate strike. You can't only hit the boundary and then face a whole bunch of dots there as well. You got to try be as proactive as you can be at the crease, but mix it up. Be very selective with the sweep. Don't play at every ball. I think that's got to be the message to Carey. I think from the coaching staff in the next few days.
So do you see David
mm,
Warner playing in the second test, or do you think he can be left out because he really, I mean, he's the biggest culprit in this game. Reason not being because the way he got, he is the most experienced player, one of the most experienced player traveling India every IPL he has played, and he cannot play like this. Means na, he's the most experienced among the entire side in Indian conditions, and the way he got out in both the innings, it was really. Matlab, you don't expect this from Warner. At least you expect he will hit couple of boundaries at least to get the ship rolling. But unfortunately, he looked clueless against pace, against spin. So do you think he could be axed in the next game, or do you think he will get this full series, but maybe axed for Ashes if he doesn't perform?
Yeah, I mean, Warner has been in better form over the years, and he still didn't deliver big in India, didn't deliver big in England, even when he was at his peak, you know? So it's very
Mm.
hard to see how that happens now because his test form, apart from that double hundred at the MCG, it's been very poor for a little while now. So is he going to turn it around in India? Well, past history says no. You know what I'm saying? Past history is telling you no, it
Yeah.
doesn't. If you're going to drop Travis Head because of how he played in Asia last year, well, then what are you going to do about David Warner? I think the selectors will probably stick with him because of the potential that he provides. I'm very worried about him. Um, I would like to see maybe, as you mentioned before, the left-right combination at the top. It might be
Yes,
worth trying something different there. Renshaw, unfortunately, looks out of his depth now, but he did perform well as opener in
yes,
2017. But
yes.
you might look at Hanscom at the top because he looked okay in defence in the first innings, and you might look for that option in the next test. I don't know. Um,
Because
Personally, I think
I
what the selectors, if I'm going to predict what the selectors will do, I think they're just going to stick with David Warner. We don't have a suitable replacement yet. That's what they're probably going to
because
say.
I am of
One
the
more thing
view
on that
that
part.
just 1 minute, Harsh, 1 minute. I am of the view that even say this will be David Warner's last tour to India. I don't see him coming back.
Yeah, yeah, it will
Right.
be. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
I think
better
his
to
test
give.
days.
Yeah, it's better to give chance to someone at least who have 2 3 games in India rather than. No, that is my view. Rather than just
Who would it be? I'm going to
hoping.
ask you. Who would you open then?
I will open Travis Head along with Hanscom. I will put Khwaja down because I want left-right combination in the middle overs also. I just don't.
Would
What is happening
you
with Australia?
would you feel
What is that?
confident? Would you feel confident about Kawaja coming in against spin Australia 3 or 4 down?
No, no. I will put him at three. I will put Khwaja at three. Manas at four. Smith has to. Smith, I think, is handling the spin the best. So I would keep him along with these youngsters, na Cameron Green and all, because I think Cameron Green can be really helpful in these conditions because he can hit those big strokes. So he perhaps need player like Smith with him. That is my view. Smith, I think, handled today, played really well. Though in the last he got out, then the no ball, but otherwise he was looking the most comfortable. I think Smith has no issues starting with the spin. Manas, I think, will be able to manage himself. I think Australia need to attack India with the new ball, and Travis Head is the best option there. He can really come along with Handscomb and attack India with the new ball because Australia cannot afford to lose wicket to Indian seamers. This is my point. They need to
Agree.
have 50-60 on the board before the spinners come on to bowl. That is what I feel. They cannot be 2 for 2, 15 for 2 or something like that. This is my view, and Travis Head is the best option in that context because he is a free flowing player. So and he does go for the shots. Obviously, he can nick one too, but I think Australia have to take an attacking route from here rather than sitting defensive. David Warner, nothing against him. I'm his biggest fan, but I think time has come that at least in these conditions, I don't see him threatening. So rather give chance to someone who may have a chance to come again to India, say after 4 years, and be at least players these spinners in these conditions, rather than he will be coming next time around with no experience, and again then it will be hoping against hopes that he will perform or not. So that is my view.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Harsh, you were saying something. I cut you off.
Yes, yes. I had a question. What you guys think about the approach of captaincy? As if you guys followed the game closely, you might have seen or noticed that Rohit Sharma's bowling rotation was like if he is captaining a T20 side. And if you compare this that to Pat Cummins, where do you rate this?
Yeah,
And
interesting.
I think I, one
Yeah,
I think that it was this T20 captaincy approach that Australia scored like a T20 game in both the innings.
yeah. Unfortunately, it's true. Um, but I think Rohit was very proactive. If a bowler bowled a poor over or two, he was quick to say no. Runs are at a premium here. It's not easy to score, so we can't afford to give away runs. But look, the thing is, he had a lot of options in his bowling attack to
Yes.
turn to. That really helps. Pat Cummins didn't. So, yeah, there's the big difference. I thought the thing with Cummins, I thought there was a period yesterday. Akshar Patel was 2 of 20 balls or something like that, 23 balls, and he's given him an easy single to long off. I thought that was a bit poor. I think you need to put the field up and encourage Akshar to try go over the top. You're bowling to the number nine. With all due respect to Akshay, he's a terrific player, but you want to test him early. You want to build some pressure. You don't want to let him go into his innings and ease into his innings and build some confidence. You want to test him early and
Yeah,
build some dot ball pressure a lot more. So when you give those easy singles, I felt I know he hasn't got a lot of runs to play with, but you need to try get 2 or 3 wickets quickly against India, who are very good rotators of spin. You're not going to do that. They're just going to milk the singles all day. So, yeah, that's something I'd like to see different in the next test.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, last time when India toured Australia, first test, India also lost the game, got out cheaply in Adelaide. Lot was being said it will be a 4-0 and everything. But Indian team turned the things around and they were able to win the series. Do you think this Australia have that capability to turn things around in the upcoming 3 matches and they can really push India hard and even level the series? Let's not discuss winning the series. I think it's a
Highly
big
doubt it,
task
to
for
be
them.
honest. Highly doubt it. If we're speaking realistically, I said before the series 3-1 to India. Now I'm thinking, where is Australia going to pick up the win? I thought we'd be a little bit more competitive than that. When you talk about that Adelaide test, we have to remember that India were competitive, a lot more competitive in
Yes,
that game than Australia were here.
yes,
India took a
yes,
first innings lead in that game.
yes, yes.
Um, and then, of course, the 36, and India edged everything, and Australia bowled incredibly. And then, of course, India bounced back really well. Um, it's going to take a miracle for Australia to bounce back, I think, and win the series. That's just like, that's unthinkable at this stage, right? But Australia got to think now about how to come back well in the next game. Think about that
Adding to the
next.
Yes.
question, do you think baseball is the best counter attack for spin? Do you
Oh,
think Australia will follow the same?
I'd love to see Baz ball against these spinners in those conditions. They're not flat pitches, and you're not up against inexperienced bowlers.
baseball
You're up
only on
against
flat pitches. Only flat pitches.
yeah, exactly. You're up against world class quality spinners on pitches that are spinning. You need to have some discipline. You can't just hit out because eventually they're going to get you. So yeah, you got to, as I said, you got to be selective, as selective as you can be.
Baseball
Yeah,
happens only when the dew ball gets soft after 30 overs, and then you have bowlers literally have nothing in there. And the players are good too. English players are good too. There is not no credit taken away from them, but they have been able to show that in their home conditions as well as in Pakistan, where they really batted really well. But I don't see this baseball happening in Australia or in India or be it in Sri Lanka or Bangladesh because you need certain sort of track to hit out in test matches. You just cannot just go and blast everything
Mm,
from ball. It won't be easy. You can try obviously.
mm,
Nothing is impossible, but it will be tough, especially in India.
mhm,
Because see, India also scored 400, but the rate at which they scored was not very good. You see, it was just under three, so it is not easy to score here. So I don't see if they can English players. I think they will be touring. I think in the next cycle, WTC cycle, they will be touring India.
mm.
So I think then we
yeah.
could find answer to this question. So I think we will be moving to Delhi. So Australian team now get an extended break courtesy the game ended early. So lot to think about them. I think Andrew McDonald, Daniel Vittori need to sit with the team and really discuss how to take things forward because Delhi, knowing Delhi conditions is generally slow and low. If they have done changes to any this track, I doubt because generally speaking about Delhi, the pitch is here are slow and low, and weather is also slightly hot currently. So let's see how do Australians team reacts in the second test. I think they need to keep their template the same. Win the toss, try to win the toss, deep, bat first, get a score of say near to 300, and then let their give their bowlers a chance. I think this game their bowlers had literally had no chance. They tried their best, but after a point of time, I think it was too much for them. So Australian batters need to give their bowlers a fighting chance. Then I think game will be even out. Let's see what happens in Delhi. So
Fingers
any
crossed.
closing views, guys?
Nothing
Yeah.
from me. I'd like to just forget this test match and hope to never talk about it again. Uh, uh,
We should get batting in both coming matches. Let's see.
thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks. I
Chapel.
think we should
Thank
wrap
you,
up.
Harsh. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
We'll
bye.
do preview of second test. Bye bye.
Yeah,
Sounds good. Bye.
bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks for joining in comments and Charvel also.